Cineverm.
Hello, welcome to Cineverm, a podcast discussing films in and out of the cinema. My name is Anthony Renteria, and today I'm joined by my two fellow Cineverm co-hosts, David.
Hello.
And Helen.
It is I. Hello.
And this week we are going to do a short and sweet housekeeping episode where we will discuss updates on our review system, canon picks, learn about Helen's canon of cinema, and announce Helen's and David's film slate that they have chosen for the rest of the year. And then before we dig into those topics, I just wanted to briefly say that we will officially be back on our weekly release schedule from here on out. So we are officially out of our hiatus with Helen joining the squad. So we should be able to hit these weekly releases. So that is very exciting. And then also be sure to check out our Introducing Helen episode that was released last week. So you can hear some of her cinema backstory. But okay, so I guess to hit the topics, I guess to start out, what should we start out with? Okay, I'll start out with my updated review system, which isn't really an update, because I've been thinking a lot about changing my 10 out of 10s from just being what I think is like a masterpiece film to something that's more personal. And I went back to like my long written draft, and like the second bullet has to cause an intense emotional reaction from me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's I just forgot to do that. So a lot of my 10s are being stripped from their 10 out of 10s, and they are now 9 out of 10s. And I only have, I think I counted 25 10 out of 10s from all the films I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. So
all right.
I guess that's my little update. Do y'all have any updates to y'all's review rating system of any sort?
I mean, you made me think about the 10 out of 10 thing, like that it makes sense that 10 out of 10s are going to be subjective somewhat. Mm-hmm. So I should reserve those for, ones that subjectively affect me, emotionally or whatever, or personally. So yeah, that makes sense. It kind of takes some of the pressure off of the 10 out of 10. Doesn't have to be a perfect movie or a objective masterpiece. It just has to be an excellent movie plus has some kind of subjective meaning that probably I'm not the only person that it has that effect on. So yeah.
I mean, I'm still super intimidated by the whole rating system, and I'm probably never going to be consistent. There's probably never going to be a hard and fast rule for me. I'm just going to be like, I liked it or I didn't like it, and here's why. So I'm a wild card. I'm
okay.
Yeah. But that's good to have.
What are your 10 out of 10s though? Like, are they like kind of like how you like your music? Like it has to be extremely personal and like touch you in a meaningful way?
No. A movie doesn't have to hit me personally for me to think it's amazing. It just really has to give me a strong feeling, make me want to watch it again, or make me think. It just,
a combination of the.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm pondering it for days later, even if I'm related to none of the characters and was super mad at it, it could still be a beautiful work of art, and I could still potentially give it a 10.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So one other thing that is a huge topic that we should discuss here is, so since we added Helen to the Cineverm family, we are going to start doing, I don't know if we have like an official word or term for it yet, but it's going to be like her watch list and David's watch list. And these are going to be the films that we will be alternating watching every week from here on out, with the exception of like new releases. I think I'm going to probably just sneak those in whenever they happen, because I think those will be more rare and far between. But the main episodes will be the watch list picks. So I guess I guess we can start with you, David, and your watch list and the films that you picked and why you picked them.
Yeah. Well, I think it was that you told me to pick some, and then I was like, okay, how am I going to narrow it down? Because there's so many movies. Like, there's my first thing was like, okay, I want it to be movies that Anthony has not seen because that'll be fun. And then I was like, yeah, but that's still too many. So I have to narrow it down to like some kind of genre. And I knew we had talked about how you traditionally don't like horror movies. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that'd be fun. I asked you about that. So that's what I narrowed it down to is classic must-see movies. Most of these I would say are canon. And also movies that I don't think you've seen most of them. And they're all horror movies in general, just different genres of horror. But so those are my picks.
Awesome.
You want me to go list them all, or?
Yeah, just briefly, like, say the titles, and then if you have anything, like, pertinent or something you wanted to say about why you picked them specifically, or what your initial thoughts were about them back in the day.
Videodrome was the first one that I don't think, we've secretly already recorded it, but I have not released it. And so, that body horror genre felt was important to see. But we've also got The Thing on the list for later in the year, which is similar body horror genres. It'll be really interesting to see how your thoughts of those compared will be interesting. And then I had to throw David Lynch on there, so Eraserhead is the one after that we're going to see.
Is that an earlier film of Lynch's?
It's his first film? It's his first one. Yeah, it's his first feature-length film. Yeah.
Okay.
1970. It's the same year Star Wars came out.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a good one. It still holds up in a weird way. It is partly body horror too, but also just kind of existential horror, and specifically the horror of being a parent. Which I'm sure some of us can relate to. So that's my David Lynch pick. And then Hereditary, we've all seen that, I think. But right, Helen, you've seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
Hereditary? Wow. Okay, cool. So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun one to watch. And then I think one of Helen's picks is Midsummer right after that. Mm-hmm. So that'll be cool to talk about those two movies back to back. The Exorcist, I feel like, is an important one to watch. So we got that on there. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, complete opposite mood of The Exorcist, but a good, like, I was just watching X, that just came out this year, which I think, Anthony, you put on your, like, maybe watches for this year, or maybe reviews.
Yeah. Did you end up liking it?
X? Yeah. I liked it. It was fun. Like, but what's cool about it is that it's an homage to mostly the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and other movies like that. So it'll be cool to watch maybe both of those at some point.
Nice. Yeah. I would love to do an episode of that, because I also heard it, like, gets into other stuff. Like, it gets into the making of movies. I mean, I think specifically it's like a porno or something, but supposedly, like, the whole metaphor of, like, how to make a movie is, like, an interesting element of it that I got intrigued by.
Yeah, it's a really fun homage. Yeah. And then Evil Dead 2, which I think you've seen, Anthony. Don't know about Helen.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. Okay. So
I haven't seen it. I've only seen Army of Darkness from.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not sure if I saw Evil Dead 1 or 2 because they're basically the same movie, and I cannot figure out which one of the two that I've seen, because when I describe it to people, they're like, "Yeah, that could be either one." So I really actually am not sure.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. The second one is like a remake, but it's weird. Yeah. Cause it's like immediately a remake, but it's sort of a sequel, but it's so much, it's almost like he just took the first one and just turned it up to 11. Mm-hmm. So yeah, cool movie. And then The Shining, which we got a Kubrick in there finally, which we have not reviewed a Kubrick movie yet. So that'll be a good first one. And then we got Martyrs, which is one that I almost didn't put on the list because it is kind of like much more extreme than all these other ones. But I still think it's a really good movie, like artfully, and it has a lot of interesting things to think about, even though it is mostly what some people would consider like a torture porn kind of movie. But I do think it's like it is meaningful. It's not like a Hostel or something like that. I feel like it is like actually meaningful. So it's got stuff to talk about. And then Dawn of the Dead.
The Snyder version,
classic
right?
Zombie. Nope. That's the original 1970s version. No. George Romero version. Fun movie. And then Audition is the last one that I got. Good Japanese horror movie that really, the first time I saw it, just like really, kind of like Martyrs, just really stuck with me for a while after I watched it. Like, oh God, yeah. Because I think the best horror movies are the ones that, which you'll see my bias, I guess, in this list, is like when humans are the ones that are doing the horrible things. Those are the most horrifying horror movies. So I had to throw a couple of those on the list. So yeah, that is my list.
Awesome. So I guess I want to do like a quick thing about your list. Like I'm trying to think what films would I maybe give a 10 out of 10. And I think I don't know. There's
watching them.
Yeah, like a like what are my like expectations, I guess. And I think
right.
The only one is probably The Shining and The Thing.
Really?
There's something about The Thing that I've always been so like just the poster, the images that I've seen, clips that I've seen. I don't know this, and maybe just because it's winter, like I'm obsessed with snow and seeing snow. So I think The Thing might hit a soft spot, and then The Shining if it derails into insanity, which I hope, but I don't know.
That's one of that is one of the ones that I am most doubtful that you'll like for some reason.
Really?
It has it lacks, as I'm learning more about your likes and dislikes. The thing about Kubrick is he's very cold emotionally and doesn't really care that much about the humans in his movies. It's more about the ideas and the abstract. So I'm like, ooh, I don't know if Anthony's gonna connect with this one.
But it's so atmospheric. That could.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Are you not an atmosphere person, Anthony?
I am. But it has to be like tied to an emotional thing. Like I'm like I think we talked about Spencer in your intro. Like that movie was kind of like very little plot, very little character stuff, but it was like you felt like you were Princess Diana, you know?
Yeah.
Like that kind of atmosphere I like. So if it feels like the dread that the main character is feeling, maybe it will hit that spot for me. But I guess
atmosphere of fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I guess before we do your list, Helen, do you have any like predictions or hype or episodes that you might want to pop up for on David's list?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super amped for Eraserhead because I became obsessed with David Lynch in 2017 when Twin Peaks: The Return came out, and I wanted to watch all of his movies, but I was also very pregnant at the time, and my brothers were like, hold off, just wait until everything's fine, because I wanted to start at the beginning with Eraserhead and watch them, and they were just like, don't go on your Lynch journey yet. Okay, just wait. And so now I feel like it's been long enough where I'm allowed to go on my Lynch journey, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to watch Eraserhead. It may cause me to go through his whole filmography on my own.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
or on the pod if Anthony is willing. I'll drop everything to go through Lynch's filmography. I mean,
and I've seen Fire Walk with Me and parts of Dune, but not all of it all the way through. But so
Understandably.
Yeah. And then I wasn't gonna get on for Hereditary, but because it's like a sister movie to Midsummer, and that's my pick, maybe I should. I don't know.
I think you would like Hereditary.
It would be interesting, yeah.
I'm kind of one of those contrarians where it's like if a movie gets way too much hype and love, I'm resistant to it and I don't want to watch it. And so that movie is so hyped by everyone that I'm kind of just like, I don't want to like it, just out of contrarianness.
Oh, Hereditary or Midsummer?
Yeah, Hereditary.
Interesting. See, I've felt the hype more for Midsummer lately. I think just the culture, like it's just more like Halloween because the costume. Like,
I think Midsummer is getting a cult following, which is my whole entire vibe. Or one of I love cult followings.
Well, I hate it for Midsummer because for me, like, okay, so I have to say, Midsummer has one of the worst viewing experiences I've ever had in a cinema. Period. So the first time I saw it, one of the best viewing experiences ever because it's obviously one of my favorite films. But the second time I watched it at the Sidewalk Film Festival, I think it was like 2018, 19, I can't remember. But they played it, and it was like one of the like final showings of the whole festival, and it was the director's cut. The director's cut was only screened in like 4 cities in the world before it released.
Whoa.
And so like it was a big deal, and like everyone was like dressing up, and it was like a huge event, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And for me, like Midsummer is very like a cathartic thing. Like it means a lot emotionally because like I relate to the character and I connect with her, and the pain and like the ideas I like vibe with. And I'm sure like you've experienced this, Helen, in some screenings where like it was like a packed theater, and just everyone's reaction was the opposite reaction that I think if I had directed Midsummer, I would have like walked to the projector and turned it off. Like I got physically upset because everyone was laughing at every joke, and you could tell no one was really laughing. It was just more like that weird joint laughter that like it only happens in like film festivals for some reason. And
the party atmosphere
I don't know
thing.
Yeah, it felt like a bunch of like, I don't know, it just didn't connect in any way, and it just made the film feel like a joke. And even like towards the end, people are laughing. Like David knows what happens, but like a scene with the guy doing something that isn't funny because it's not supposed to enact that emotion. People are laughing while he's like running around after this act, and then the ending, people are like cheering and screaming and like cheering on like it was a football game or something, like, yeah, you go girl or whatever, which I mean I can get, but like in my opinion, what you're supposed to feel from these moments is disgust, and then the like cleanse of I'm over it, or the anger and hatred that she's pouring out towards an individual. And I think you're describing why,
like, yeah, this is why I like Hereditary better, like a little bit, because I think Midsummer is a more memeable movie, so it's more campy. So I understand why some people will take it that way, and maybe find it more funny than it should be.
I think it's the ridiculousness. Like Midsummer gets ridiculous.
It's over the top. It's camp. It is campy, but like Hereditary is just depressing. So which is great, but it's hard to make fun of that movie.
Yeah. Versus like Midsummer. More and more like Midsummer is going to be my one, and Hereditary I might not like. Because I love camp
you'll
also.
Have to watch. Yeah. But I don't get a campiness from it. I do get like an exaggeration.
Well, I mean, yeah, an over the topness, like an extremeness. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, and I refuse. But moving on, I refuse to watch The Exorcist. I am terrified of demons and possession. Well, just possession.
Oh,
see, here's the thing about my issues. Yeah. See, again, maybe not. Yeah, because here's my thing. I'm an extreme hypochondriac germaphobe, and demonic possession is just another kind of disease or virus in the way my brain interprets it. So
never thought about that.
Yeah, I am so profoundly creeped out by possession stories that I just don't think I can handle it. I don't think I can ever watch that movie. Texas Chainsaw.
What about body horror? Wouldn't that
body horror? Like if it's like gore, like getting cut up or like injured, like that's external. It's not something coming from inside that you can't see or control. Like I'm okay with gore, but yeah, if it's a virus or a disease or a possession, there's just something so deeply under my skin, creepy, like primal fear about just suddenly coming down with something or having your body or your mind out of your control and you can't see it and fix it and clean it. Like, it's the worst. So
that's
oh my God. Yeah, that's especially apt for The Exorcist, because there's like scenes where, not spoiling anything, but where the mom takes the possessed daughter to different doctors and they're like doing different tests on her and trying to figure out what's wrong, and it's like really scary and like anxiety inducing, like what is wrong, you know?
Yeah, that would trigger me so hard.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't think I can handle it.
That's
so
interesting.
I'm skipping that.
I am also grossed out by possession stuff for some reason. Like just on a weird, like, I don't know, because I don't believe in any religions and I'm not really afraid of any of it, but it's always like specifically like the scenes where someone's like contorting and just being disgusting. Like that stuff always just freaks me out for some reason.
Man, you're gonna love The Exorcist. Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
It's not a religion thing for me. It's entirely just an out of control madness disease thing for me.
Yeah. What about zombie movies? Is it similar?
No, yeah, okay. Some zombie movies are too much. I don't like realistic zombies. I don't like running zombies. I'm more a fan of shuffling zombies.
Slowly shuffling.
Yeah, I like slowly. I mean, and it would make sense that they would shuffle. Their corpses, their muscles don't work good. Right. Like, they should not be able to run. Like,
makes sense.
Yeah, I like shuffling zombies. Let's see. But yeah, so I will be there for Dawn of the Dead, for sure. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of my close friends, that's his favorite movie of all time, and I've never seen it, and I gotta watch it with him, so I can't watch it with this pod.
All right.
And Evil Dead 2, I don't know. I think I've seen it. I think I haven't. I don't know. I've got a lot going on in my life. I can't watch every single one of these things because I'm definitely there for The Shining and I'm definitely there for The Thing. I have seen both of those and I love them. I think they're brilliant, amazing movies. I can't wait to talk about them.
Sounds good.
And awesome. Martyrs, not sure, because I have seen that before and that movie is intense.
Yeah.
Yep. It is very intense.
Well, and I don't know if I can do it again.
Yeah.
So I guess leading off of that, could you then go into the picks that you have chosen? Okay,
so I kind of took a two-pronged approach. Oh, David, do you have something else to say?
No.
Okay. I have a 400+ long watch list on Letterboxd. So part of it was I have got to chip away at that. And use this podcast as a reason to chip away at that. And so off of my watch list, I chose things that Anthony had said he really likes or had seen or thought would be interesting to put on this pod. And those three are Titan. How do you pronounce that? Titan.
Yeah, Titan.
Midsummer.
It depends.
Yeah. And Drive. Those were ones just on my watch list that happened to align with Anthony's taste and were things that I wanted to talk about anyway. And then Beast is also off of my watch list, and that's got the brilliant Jessie Buckley in it. And one of my favorite musicians, Johnny Flynn. So he's also an actor, and I'm very excited to see him in a feature film because I've been a fan of his music for years. So Beast is for the two leads, is entirely why I picked that movie.
Yeah.
And then my other approach for the other movies, I listed these completely out of order from how they're going to appear on the pod. But are movies from my personal canon that I would like to submit to the Cineverm canon that I think are brilliant and are core to my identity. And these are some odd ones, some obscure ones maybe, and some not so obscure ones. But Lars and the Real Girl is...
Interesting.
Yes, romantic comedy about let's see, Ryan Gosling introducing his new girlfriend to his family, and she happens to be a sex doll.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I promise it's amazing. And maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's amazing, but it's one of my favorites. And All About Eve, classic... women being intense at each other, old movie, but great movie. And Arrival. I'm kind of alternating between old and new. Arrival, science fiction, linguistics, anthropology, xenoanthropology. Anthropological study of an alien race. That would be me. Like that actress, that character.
Your dream job.
Yes, that is my dream job, is her job in that movie. So, and it's got time dilation and weirdness going on. It's hard sci-fi. It's just absolutely perfect. It could have come from my brain. That movie is so good to me. And Lion in Winter is another old, classic, obscure movie. It's kind of Anglophile, British history on screen with incredible actresses, incredible performances, and just rat-a-tat dialogue. And that's another huge aesthetic for me. And it's also a Christmas movie, technically. So that's why it's in November. And I'll be around probably for some of the new releases, too. So,
yeah. And then, did you mention Girl with a Pearl Earring?
Oh, is that even on this list? I don't see it. Where did we put that?
December 11th.
Like down in December.
Oh, December. Yeah. Okay, that's another one from my personal canon that I think about all the time. It changed the way I see the world a little bit. It changed the way I see film a little bit. It was another one of those that I saw as a teenager and made me think, wait, movies can be like this? So it's definitely a super important one to me. Another personal canon movie for me. So
awesome. I'm
trying to introduce myself through my picks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really excited to watch all of yours, and then the ones that I'm like pre-rating, like the peak excitement is Arrival. Like that is a movie that I know David's talked a lot about to me, and just like everyone I hear always talks about how amazing it is. And then it has Amy Adams, an actress that I've loved like so much before. And then just like what I know briefly about it, and I somehow have not been spoiled of the end, which I hear is like a big spoiler. So I'm grateful for that. So like I can actually go into this movie blind and love it. And I don't know, I think that's going to be the one that I am like 90% sure I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. Like that just ticks all the boxes that I want.
It would have to really disappoint you.
Yeah. And
something
then I love
bad would have to happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And yeah, so that's the main one. And also I'm very excited for Girl with a Pearl Earring. Just the poster, and I haven't really looked into too much of it, just what you've told me, but there's some sort of vibe or aesthetic that I'm really vibing with in that one. And then I think Lars is going to be super fun because I love Ryan Gosling. And
yeah, but it might be really funny if you're like, Helen, this is not a good movie, and it's one of those ones that I have a turnaround on.
Yeah.
But I like rom-coms, but I especially like quirky, weird rom-coms. So.
And then also previous to the Lars thing, we also watched Ruby Sparks.
Oh yeah, and we don't know if we're ever going to record that episode, but we watched it with the intention of recording an episode about it, and that was just.
I was like, I remember that being on the list, and then it
we watched it, and I picked that entirely to antagonize Anthony because I thought he would hate it, and because that's what happens when you become my friend. is I start to try to actively and intellectually antagonize you. So just get ready. So.
Oh man, now I really want to know what Anthony thought about it. But
yeah,
I'd be spoiling the review.
Yeah, you'll have to wait, but it was not a positive reaction. Oh my gosh. But I guess that leads me to David. Did you have any excitements or movies that you plan to join us with on her picks, or anything that you want to note on?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be on Midsummer and Drive, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
and then Titan and Arrival. Those will be really interesting to talk about, to see how we all vibe with those. And then the ones I haven't seen that I'm excited about are Lion in Winter and Girl with the Pearl Earring. I'm super interested in those because I have not seen them. But yeah. Lars and the Real Girl, didn't really like it. I don't know. I gotta be a downer on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think most people like it. I think it might just be me. I don't know. It just spoke to me.
We're gonna dive into your psyche for that one.
Yeah, for sure.
And All About Eve is a classic for sure, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Beast is another one that I've seen that I didn't really like. I don't know. I think I saw it last year and I was like, eh. But I don't remember much about it. So.
But how many Jessies at a Buckley's would you give it?
all the Jessies.
Okay.
But
that's a new rating system that I've developed.
It's a weird movie, though. It would be interesting to see what you say about it, Helen. Yeah, I feel like I'll learn a lot about you from hearing what you say about these movies. So awesome. It'll be cool. It'll be fun.
And then one special thing that hopefully happens, it'll depend on if I get off work, but I think Helen will for sure be there, is in Alabama. There's a Sidewalk Film Festival that I kind of briefly talked about earlier in a negative way, but in a positive way, Sidewalk in general is an amazing event with amazing films and showings. And we're planning on doing a special extravaganza episode on that, covering the whole festival and like what we watch. So I think Helen might watch a film or two or multiple, and we're going to try to get her to like record her hot takes as she is leaving the theater, walking to the next theater. And then if I can get off work, I can also do that. And then maybe if David wants to come into town, into Birmingham,
we'll see if the stars align.
Yeah. I love the film festival. I've been to almost every single one since the second one, and it's
wow.
Yeah, so it's a tradition in my life, and so I'll be there regardless. But I'm very excited to potentially get to break down the movies I see.
Awesome. Okay, and then the next topic we had, let me go to my topic list. Okay, so I guess we're going to start the canon discussion, which is going to be, I feel like, a long discussion. But I guess where do we start? I guess we should start just broadly. I guess since you're joining us now, Helen, I guess broadly what me and David have talked about and discussed. The original idea and intent for the Cineverm canon was to create a list of films that we think would like define cinema and that would still hold up. Because, there's a lot of like the AFI, the BFI, the, Sight and Sound Top 1000, like all those lists. And something that I don't like about them, and I think some things that maybe David has some issues with them, is like sometimes there's films that feel like they don't really belong, that's just like a historical thing, and maybe they're not as enjoyable, or like there's stranger picks that maybe should have been in there, like maybe a lot of those picks are too obvious now. So like our idea was, well, what if we made our list and it could be an interesting list that hits all the historical beats, but then it's also, these films are still pleasurable to watch in modern day, they're
not eat your vegetables movies.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the idea. And then, I don't know. I think that's where we still stand. I guess, do you have anything to add to that, David?
No, yeah, I go back and forth on it. It's like, because I'm like, okay, I mean, one definition of a canon is just like, if someone were interested in the art form of film, these are the movies that they should watch. Even if some of them are boring by modern standards, it's still important to see them and understand the beginnings of the story of film, But I do think that there are some on the lists that are just no longer at all culturally relevant. And I don't know. There's just some weird ones sometimes that you see show up on lists where I'm like, yeah. But I think mostly there's a lot that don't show up on the lists that should be on the lists.
So I guess...
I think there's a lot that we can add there.
So I guess that's our little... not disagreement, but like difference is I think it should just be things that are still enjoyable to watch. And then you're saying maybe something that is more historical should be present. And then
there's a lot of, because our modern brains are so ADHD and just pulverized by content. There are, I think we got to give a little bit of slack to the silent era, silent films in general. Like, just because we get bored by them doesn't mean they're not important, Yeah.
So let me ask Helen, what's your opinion? Out of the two options that we've presented, what do you think would make the better canon list? Something that is more historically relevant or something that is more entertainment relevant?
But I mean, can't we have both? Isn't that sort of the point of the canon? Is that it's historically relevant but still entertaining? Don't sacrifice for either. But that will make for a narrow list. And one thing I thought was really interesting on y'all's canon write-up, maybe this is old, but where it's like it could make you fall in love with film. And I think that's a really important criteria, is like if you were kind of a film noob or someone who didn't consider themselves a cinephile and then they saw that movie and it changed for them. I think that's really important to have a list of movies like that.
These are like potential, I guess the way now I'm thinking about it is like these could be potential film awakening movies for someone. This film has the potential to touch someone. Maybe it didn't touch me, but I can see how maybe someone in this culture, someone in this aesthetic or style or genre, they could watch this and be like, holy shit, this is what horror can do. This is what, body horror can do. This is what comedy can do. This is what all whatever genres you can think of. And that's, But I guess here's one argument I have against the historical thing. Towards you, David, is the film Birth of a Nation. I think it's like one of the first big theatrical. I forgot what is the first of, but I just know that is like a film that's taught in like film school, and it's like this is very important. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and it's
filmmaking techniques.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know it's extremely racist, and it just looks like a terrible movie. So it looks like, and then it also just looks like a horrible thing to watch. Like, just outside of that, it doesn't, like, I've seen clips of it, and I'm just like, why would I watch this? So, like, in that film, like, what do you think about, like, because in my opinion, it is a huge historical film for whatever reason. I think the director is like some huge, I don't know. I don't even care to like learn about it.
D.W.
I
Griffith.
just know everyone is always talking about it and it's on every list, but I'm like, see, I would just cut that one out because who cares? So like, where do you fall on that of issue?
I would maybe pick another of that same, like D.W. Griffith. Like, he made other movies that, like, Intolerance is one that's usually high on people's lists for like I mean, you usually see a clip of like the clip you usually see is this huge Babylon scene that he does where it's just like thousands of extras and it's this huge epic like panning shot over this giant set that they built on some backlot, of like the ancient city of Babylon. And it's even by today's standards, you're like, oh my god, like they had to build these enormous sets and have all these extras and coordinate the shot and everything. It's like, so you could just pick another similar movie like that.
Okay.
But I feel like that's a rare problem that there's a movie where it's like completely like it's important to filmmaking, but also completely opposed to our modern morality or whatever.
Yeah, a movie like that.
I don't think there's many of those.
A movie like that I've seen is Triumph of the Will, literally the Nazi propaganda movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is beautifully shot, but, terrible morally. But you know what? It makes you appreciate Dr. Strangelove more, and that movie should be in the canon. So it's like, because Dr. Strangelove has parts that are straight up lifted and spoofing Triumph of the Will. So it makes that movie more funny. So that's the only reason to watch that movie.
No, I think it's definitely possible to have. I mean, someone could probably argue me into the Birth of a Nation, but I didn't get much out of it when I watched it, but I still remember Intolerance because that was pretty epic. But yeah,
okay.
But I do think there's a lot of silent movies that would be boring to the majority of people, but I think it's kind of like depends on how you go about it. Because I think it's sort of like medicine. Maybe a good way to do it is to work backwards. You start with the more modern movies and you just keep working backwards in time. And you'll appreciate the older movies once you're enough of a cinephile to get to that point. But if you started someone from the silent era, then they might just give up and quit because whatever, they're boring. But I think maybe if you get into it enough, then you're like, whoa, like I see all the references. Like I've seen all the movies that reference these movies. So it's kind of cool to see the original, the spark of this genre or like these ideas.
Yeah, Nosferatu's super cool. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, Metropolis. Metropolis is is one of my 10 out of 10s and like favorite ones, favorite movies of all time. So I think ones like it's things I always think about Metropolis because I'm like, that even now, I don't really even think it's boring. I mean, by silent movie standards, it's pretty exciting. But it's got so many great visuals in it and just such a like seed of future sci-fi movies that it's definitely worth. I feel like everyone who's interested in movies should watch it at some point. So yeah. Nosferatu also.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I think that clears that up a little bit. And then I think you have some questions specifically for the canon, right? Or did we kind of hit them all? I'm trying to look at your list.
One big question I have is like, can a movie be canon if it's only culturally significant but not artistically significant? Like the ones I was thinking about. Let's say Avatar would be one for me where it's not a good movie. Like I'm sorry, but it's not a good movie. Like just story wise, character wise, it does nothing new.
Yeah, watch Fern Gully. It's better.
That like the only reason it's significant is for its like technological breakthroughs and because it had such a huge impact when it was in the theaters. But like I don't know. I don't know if that movies like that are canon. You know, or just like Marvel movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they make such a huge cultural impact when they happen, but artistically, are they really that special or unique, or do they break any new ground? Like, I don't know. So culture, that's a big question for me.
So culture versus artistic significance is the question you're posing. I guess what is your take on it, Helen?
Well, I mean, because if you're going for cultural impact, then like every Marvel movie would have to be canon.
That's what I'm thinking.
Which, I don't agree with.
That's a slippery slope.
Gotta put some kind of limit on that.
I mean, I think it goes back to the enjoyable question. Like, Avatar is really awesome to watch in 3D, but if you're gonna get it, I mean, in the theater in 3D, it's real fun. And like a lot of Marvel movies in the theater with a huge crowd that are kind of cheering and wanting to party, like Anthony was disliking, that's kind of the Marvel crowd, and that's the time when it's fun. It's like, Thor just punched someone, woo, then it's fun. It's like, are those movies canon? No. Like,
yeah.
But did they make so much money when they came out? Yes.
Right.
So yeah, that's where
I think it has to have like, it has to last. That's another thing, is like, is someone gonna remember it in like 50 years? I think that's something that I think about with canon.
See, I guess that's what I was trying to bring up with Birth of a Nation, which is like culturally it mattered a lot for where the US was, where filmmaking was, where cinema was at the time, and perspectives, but artistically, just from what I've seen of it, I think it's artistically kind of crappy outside of all those things. And that
for the time though, it was a breakthrough. Like, I don't know. I know I've seen some things
about. A movie was a breakthrough technologically and genre-wise, and still holds up, and made a ton of money, was Star Wars.
All right.
So that one goes on the canon, but that one hits all the marks. It's historical, it's cultural, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
So like, if it's not as good as Star Wars, it doesn't get on the canon. I feel like that's a good line in the sand to draw.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. That's a challenge, because man, that would definitely make him a more limited canon list for sure.
I mean, in terms of like, if we're starting to spiral and get stuck and like, but it was so historically significant, but it grossed so high, but it changed technology, but like, stop. Was it as good as Star Wars? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm on board with that standard.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think the culture significance has to be equal to the artistic significance. Like, they have to be on equal footing for it to qualify. Like Avatar is a huge cultural thing, but artistically it wasn't a huge artistic thing. Like, it didn't inspire future Avatar-esque films, because there's better blockbusters. Yeah, like Star Wars has bred, a subgenre of into itself, and I think that's something we talked about. Like, even with like Taxi Driver, like there's so many sad dude toxic films that because of Taxi Driver, like what that is inspired, and like other Scorsese films, like let's say if we were to put like Goodfellas or like whatever definitive mob movie one day, like that would be the offspring to the future of cinema and therefore canon, or like Star Wars and sci-fi.
I agree with that. Like, how long does it last? Like, how long is it influential is a good marker of canon. Yep.
Awesome. Did you have any other questions?
Well, one big one now is like, is canon even a thing anymore? Is it even possible anymore? Because movie theaters are not such a big deal anymore. So people are watching movies on different streaming services that not everyone has. So the only movies now that make that huge cultural impact are kind of artistically not interesting at all.
I mean, but then I was complaining about how Hereditary got so much hype, and it's all over Letterboxd and Rotten Tomatoes as like the highest rated. And this, Everything Everywhere at Once, I think that one was kind of a modern canon, where it just blew up and got this massive, excited internet following. So I don't think it's really dependent on theaters anymore. It's dependent on the internet.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the new standard.
Because the same thing happened with Parasite. I feel like that
went absolutely
across so many regions, and it went from the Letterboxd film nerds, and then it bled into the Oscars, won Oscars, it covered all the bases, and then it made a lot of money. So that was culture, artistic, and impact. Yeah.
I guess the difference now is that it's not like it
doesn't
what
happen
we're talking
in the
about
theater,
is like cinephiles.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just like the people we're talking about that it has an impact on are like people who are already cinephiles, kind of like versus Star Wars, which is like everyone knows Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, at the time,
not
Star Wars was
but like Parasite, Does it? How many? If I just went on the street and was trying to came up with some test like to see how many people are familiar with those movies.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I like when Star Wars came out, my parents were huge sci-fi nerds, so they saw it 10 times, and they thought that only fellow sci-fi people would be into that. And then people that hated sci-fi were going to it 10 times with them. And I think that Parasite kind of had that effect too, where like non-cinephile types were seeing it and connecting with it. So, and then Everything Everywhere at Once, like lots of people that are like, I don't like weird movies, are like talking on Facebook about how that movie really touched them. So I think some of these movies jump out.
Yeah, it's harder, but maybe it's still possible to say. Those are my main questions.
Okay. And then you had something about the ratings, the 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Does a canon have to be a 10 out of 10?
Something I was thinking about. And I think that I figured out mine is a 7 out of 10 is the cutoff. Like anything, it can be a 7 out of 10 for me, but it can be canon because I recognize that it's culturally significant. Like I have to put a Marvel movie in my canon because that's culturally significant. So I just have to pick one. And it usually mine are down between like Iron Man because it started it all. And what was the other one that I always... Oh, just the Avengers, the first Avengers movie. Because that kind of started that whole canon. The Avengers kind of like line that became so popular. So I don't know. So that's hard too. Because I don't think those are like excellent movies, but they're important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if any Marvel movies.
You wouldn't put any Marvel movie in your canon?
Maybe the first X-Men.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I think I have that in my canon as well because that was like the first of the new era of superhero movies. Yeah.
Well, actually, the only one I'd put on canon, actually, mine is recent. I think the Spider-Verse movie is the only comic canon that I would put, and that was mainly just the innovation to animation that I appreciate.
Yeah, no, that movie was awesome for sure.
So, do you have like a cutoff in your head, Helen, for like what you think would accept a canon, like a rating that you wouldn't break down?
No, yeah, I kind of agree with that. If it's 7, it's questionable. So, like 8, 9, 10 would have to be.
Awesome. Okay, so that covers our little canon talk. I guess we should, because now I'm starting to think Helen's going to actually bump a lot of stuff into the canon, since it's only requiring 2 votes. But I guess, okay, so how do y'all want to do this canon thing?
We kind of have to know Helen's canon, right? I mean,
yeah.
We gotta get like a list.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to go into your canon, Helen?
It's so difficult. I've never thought about movies in this way. Like, I recently got a letterbox, and when I went to make my all-time favorites list on there, it was suddenly really difficult. And it immediately fractured into different genres of lists. Like, wait a minute, these are movies that I find comforting, and these are movies that I find interesting, and these are ones that I like that other people in my life hate. And it just, it's so hard to pick movies that are, no, these are at the core of my being. No, these are significant and these matter and these everyone should watch. So
you got to get your inner pretentious person out.
Yeah, it's so difficult. It's so difficult.
So before you start then, because I forgot if I mentioned this, but like, so for my personal canon, I'm calling it a personal canon, and it's just films that are canon to me that like represent my personality. And then the Cineverm canon for me is the more objective thing. And I think David has a more objective personal canon. And then, so yeah, you can choose to do whatever you want for your own personal canon. If you want it to be super personal or more objective. Yeah. So however you'd like that to be.
Yeah, I think I will have a personal canon that is super weird and like my own fingerprint. Yeah. But I will not expect those to go into the Cineverm canon. I think I'm just going to straight up be like, this one I think maybe should go in. And it may take me a while. It may not. It'll take me longer than tonight to submit those.
Okay.
But one for sure that I want on the Cineverm canon, if it is not already, is WALL-E.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Man. Ooh, that would have to be one that I would have to watch again. Because I remember really liking it when I watched it, but I haven't seen it since. So I don't know.
Because there's not a Pixar on there, right?
No.
Is that true?
Oh, that's true.
We do need a Pixar.
I would submit Toy Stories on my canon for sure. So that would be my Pixar pick.
So this is going to be a point of contention because I would just recency bias. I think Turning Red is Pixar's.
Oh, and I haven't seen that.
What the
best film? But I think WALL-E would be my number 2. So
I've seen WALL-E a lot because it was one of my daughter's favorites when she was very little. She's since decided she hates it, which disappoints me a lot. Kids are so fickle, but it's so amazing. It's basically a silent film for over half the movie. There's no dialogue, and so much emotion is conveyed through just this creature, this robot that doesn't even have a face, really. And that's so masterful, just in his mannerisms and the sounds he makes, and the objects he collects. That movie's about material culture, and that's really rare. It's an animated movie with really significant set design. Like, wow.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? There's just so many things about that movie that are so wonderful. And of course, it's at the core of my heart because it's an AI with empathy and consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's a commentary about humanity and how selfish and shallow we can be, and it's kind of environmentalist. I think it's huge. I think it would last the test of time.
I think you could easily convince me. I would have to watch it again, but I think you could convince me. I remember it being philosophically the most interesting Pixar movie. Yeah. Because of all those themes that you mentioned.
But then that also, see, I don't like Toy Story, but here I am about to fight for it. Because, I guess if the canon is more objective, Toy Story was just huge. There would be no Pixar without Toy Story. And some may argue there would be no 3D films, American 3D animated films that tackled, like what you just said about WALL-E. No other studio would ever do that. DreamWorks doesn't do that. It's a purely Pixar kind of creative thing that did initiate with Toy Story, even though I don't like it. So I feel like both of them would have to show up because Toy Story is the origin of that, and then WALL-E is the perfection of that. And maybe
I agree.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I completely
came
agree.
to a consensus. Look at that.
And for something I don't like, damn it.
I do like Toy Story, but I saw it, when I was the exact right age. And
me too. I don't get your beef with that. Yeah, what is that, Anthony?
It shattered
Did you just
my
see
brain.
it? It's because you didn't see it as a child, or
yeah, I didn't see it as a
something to do with
child.
it?
I didn't have toys.
And
as
you
a
have
child.
this weird thing. You have this blasphemy that you think that they should go back and improve on the animation of old computer animated movies, which is just no.
It's
blasphemy.
only the Pixar
I think it
ones.
is fine the way it is.
It looks horrible. It's nightmare fuel. I was looking at clips from the original Toy Story.
It's a style.
Man, you're not made to watch Paw Patrol every day. It looks fine.
I wanted to review Paw Patrol for Cineverm.
Oh God, I can't watch. Well, I'll watch it again probably tomorrow. So I definitely could. Not that I want to.
We'll add that to the canon. Okay, so that was the only one that you wanted to really push for right now?
I have a whole stack of movies that are my personal canon that I feel like meet these criteria, but I don't know if I want to go through all of them. That would take hours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to just...
I was going to say, what I like doing is I think just as I have picks on the podcast, I want to continually throw in personal canons and then say at the end, okay, you guys like it? Am I awarded, do I get the gold medal? Did I submit a good one? And just go like that and just let them slowly reveal rather than me just spit them all out right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And then we can, formally announce all those at if once we get to episode 100, I want to do another little special, and then that'll be the time where we can dig into all of them together. In that case, so I guess just one thing, lastly, to like kind of wrap us up. Like, can we hear your personal canon then? Like the films that you think define you?
Oh, okay.
Or is that a very long list as well?
No, I mean, I have a stack of DVDs surrounding me right now that I went and pulled from my DVD case that I wanted to call out. Things that I made an effort to own because I like them enough for that, and I want to rewatch them, and I will be sad if they go off streaming, so I have to be able to find them. So I own them. Lots of sci-fi here. I've got Contact and Moon and Cocoon. Cocoon is unstreamable, y'all. You have to own it to see it. The licensing's screwed up. So
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. And also The Abyss is unstreamable, and that's why I have that. I don't really think that's a canon movie, but it's really interesting sci-fi. I've said before...
I saw The Abyss streaming somewhere.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
That's
the only way I've seen it. Yeah. I don't know where, though. Can't remember.
Maybe it got revived. But... yeah, and then I've mentioned before Muppet Treasure Island, A Never-Ending Story, and then of course we're gonna be watching Lion in Winter and All About Eve, and then Princess Bride, of course, and You've Got Mail. I love that movie. I love Raising Arizona. I think that's actually my favorite Coen's movie.
Oh, I want to watch that so bad.
We could watch that, and we could talk about that one.
Oh, I love it so much. And another sci-fi movie, Gattaca. Hard sci-fi, brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I just saw that one, last year, I think.
Yeah.
For the first time.
I think it still holds up, even though it's kind of antiquated. Like, it was before GMOs and CRISPR were a thing, but it still grapples with that stuff. So, it's super deep, and I love it. And then I also have a very obscure movie called White Nights, which is about a Russian ballet dancer abdicating to the U.S. during the Soviet era. And it's basically a ballet movie. There's a lot of long scenes of dancing, but it's also amazing. And I think culturally very interesting. It really captures that time in the 80s. And no one ever talks about this movie, and I think that's sad. Those are my ones that I own.
I'm updating my IMDb list as you speak.
Yeah, and I really like the Bob Dylan movie, I'm Not There, where he's played by a whole bunch of different...
I've heard so much about that.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it.
I saw that in the theater. It blew my mind in the theater. It came out on DVD and I bought it immediately. I've watched it multiple times. I think it's not so much that it's a good movie, is that it's fascinating the way they show him and his multifaceted personality with different actors. And I'm just like, what a great way to do a biopic. Oh my God. So I'm fascinated by it more in a filmmaking way than maybe an actual good movie way. And then my favorite movie of all time is A League of Their Own. I can't elaborate on that. I'm going to do a whole podcast on that with my brothers this year, so you'll just have to listen to that.
Yeah.
And I also love the movie Wild Zero, which is another unstreamable one. It's a Japanese zombie movie, shuffling zombies. And it's basically, imagine the Ramones, only they're Japanese. So it's a punk band battling zombies in Japan. And
that sounds...
It's the greatest thing ever made. And I wish that I could just lasso people and force them to watch it like Clockwork Orange style. But I have watched it with next one. I have watched it with some people and they have hated it. They have actively hated it. So it's a hit or miss, because it's kind of one of those that people will present as like it's so bad it's good, like watch to make fun of and riff on movies. But at its heart, it's actually really beautiful and actually really worth actually watching instead of yelling over and playing a drinking game too. But I have done the drinking game with that movie, and it is fun. But yeah,
you said that one is unstreamable?
Yeah. Oh, I have it. Maybe when you come for Sidewalk, we can take a break from Sidewalk and watch it. Because, again, I want to force that movie down everyone's throat. Like, it's so good. And what did I put as my top 5 on the Cineverm? Neverending Story. I know I said that already.
I think Hot Rod was...
Hot Rod. Of course. Absolutely, yes. I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day. Of course. Yes.
Oh, and
this is my hat now. Yeah.
Oh my god, we got to do an episode on that. That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and where I just devolve into quoting it.
The other one you haven't mentioned is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, of course. 2001. Yeah, of course. Science fiction perfection. And another one I saw very young, probably too young. And I was that weird 9-10-year-old that was watching 2001 over and over in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. Like, I was a strange kid, but man, that movie got me so hard. It's so haunting. And there are probably some great, like, traditional canon movies that I am forgetting that are also very good. Like, The Godfather's good. Of course The Godfather's good. And Citizen Kane is good. Of course Citizen Kane is good. Like, it's hard to remember those movies because they're ones that everyone talks about, and I want to lift up the underdogs. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait till Anthony watches or have you seen 2001?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that'll be a fun. Because it's like, it's one of those, it's like, it's obvious. I mean, it's a classic. It's important canon, but I'm not sure you're gonna like it because it doesn't
slog.
have it talk about cold. Like I'm concerned about like Kubrick in general. Like I'm super concerned that you're just gonna be like nah.
That's someone I'm
doesn't
so
have the heart.
excited
It doesn't
about.
have the. It doesn't have the connection. It doesn't have the humanity.
You know, I don't think 2001 is a very cathartic movie, but it is maybe one of the most insightful movies of all time. And that's the difference between my taste and your taste, perhaps.
Yeah. I need the emotions, or I don't. I don't like it. So I guess that'd be an easy add, 2001 to the official canon. Like you would vote that in?
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So
should we all have to have seen a movie for it to be canon, or?
Well, it's just
You're
2 votes.
Putting them in sight unseen.
I guess 2 votes.
So since both of y'all have seen it, and both of y'all are voting for it, even if I watch it and hate it, it's a done deal.
It's irrelevant. All right.
Awesome. Okay, so that is an awesome canon list that you just gave us. We'll be sure to update that on the website at some point. I guess, David, did you have any new additions or changes to your canon that you want to
I noticed that I had some that I hadn't put on there, which recently I saw Gladiator for the first time, and I was that's for sure canon. I was afraid I was gonna be like, not that great, but it is. It holds up to the hype.
Yeah.
And so I would add that.
You know, I've only seen that once, but I did weep at the end. And that's, I don't cry at movies all the time, but I cried at Gladiator. And so maybe that means it actually is good.
I liked it a lot. And then the Apu, I probably don't pronounce it right, but the trilogy of Indian films that starts with Pather Panchali, and it's a trilogy. Came out in the 50s, late 50s, black and white. Just following this kid from poverty to the second movie is like his teenage years, moving out of his village, going to the city, and it's just like this epic following this one character. But I feel like I would definitely add that trilogy to the canon for Indian cinema, like realist Indian cinema, like not Bollywood it's very like down to earth, relatable to any culture, super interesting like character study. And then Gummo is another one that I don't think I had on my list, but like I know we've talked about, actually that's in Cineverm. Didn't you review Spring Breakers or one of the Harmony Korine movies that came out? Yeah.
Oh no, it was Beach Bum.
Beach Bum. Yeah. So yeah, Gummo. Oh my God. I think about Gummo so much after I've seen it last year. I feel like it's crazy that it came out in like 1997, and it almost feels like one of those movies that would have come out post-Trump, like to explain how he could have possibly become president, because it's like it's a study of the like American, just like I don't know how to say it, like just the butt crack of not Alabama, excuse me, of America, just like the forgotten like underclass of America, that's probably the majority of America, that just the coasts don't see or don't, flyover country, as they call it. Like it's this super interesting, stark, obviously exaggerated in some points, but also like really sadly real in other points, of just this huge swath of weird people that live out in the outskirts that are just forgotten by society. But it's a very like sad movie in a lot of ways, and it's about these really weird, some of them psychopathic people, but it's also like, it's not exploitative. It's very understanding of them also. I don't know how to describe it, but man, I think about that movie so much since I saw it, because I feel like it explains a lot about America. Like if someone wanted to know, like if someone were looking, let's say someone who'd never been to America and wanted to know about America through cinema, it would be one of the movies I showed them.
Yeah.
It's like important. So
awesome. We'll have to do an episode on that at some point, because I love Korine a lot.
Yeah. It's his best movie, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So those
are the only ones that I would add. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then just to quickly wrap up mine, I'll get into it more in our episode 100, but my new canon list is Mishima, Her, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This isn't technically a movie, but I love it so much that I'm counting it as one. Bo Burnham's Inside, Drive, First Reformed, Midsummer, Parasite, The French Dispatch, The Worst Person in the World, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 8th Grade, La La Land, The Social Network, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Titan, Interstellar, Another Round, Children of Men, The World's End, The Thin Red Line, Night is Short, Walk On Girl, My Life as a Zucchini, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and The Green Knight. So those are my only 10 out of 10s now, and my canon that I think are spectacular films. And then I think that's all the topics that we have for today. I wanted this to be a little shorter, so I think we're going to wrap it up here, unless y'all had anything else y'all wanted to add before we close out.
Nope, I feel good.
Nope. I'm excited to watch our watch list.
Awesome. Oh, and then just one final thing. Some of the theatrical films that we should be watching, just if anyone wants to watch along with us, is Crimes of the Future, Elvis, Nope, yes. 3,000 Years of Longing, and Fabelmans, and Babylon, and then, I forgot what Ari Aster's new film is going to be called. Disappointment Boulevard. I'm going to force one of y'all to watch it with me whenever that gets announced.
You're not going to have to force me.
Okay, good.
I'll definitely watch that, yeah.
It doesn't have a release date, so I haven't put it on here, but yeah, I have to watch that. Because if he goes 3 for 3, oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to lose my mind. But anyways, thank y'all all for listening to this episode of Cineverm. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email us at cineverm@yahoo.com. And then be sure to check out our website, cineverm.com, where we will update our canon list and watch lists that we will plan to watch there in some time. And then check out my personal YouTube channel, A Lonely Critic. And then also check out Helen's other movie podcast, Movies for Decades, where she and her brothers Colin and John discuss films through the decades. And thank y'all so much for listening, and we will see y'all next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Cinema.